Namo Narayana, welcome back. Today we start chapter 12, Dhruva Maharaja goes back to Godhead. The great sage Maitreya said, "My dear Vidura, Dhruva Maharaja's anger subsided, and he completely ceased killing yakshas. When Kuvera, the most blessed master of the treasury, learned this news, he appeared before Dhruva. While being worshipped by yakshas, Kinnaras, and Kannaranas, he spoke to Dhruva, who stood before him with folded hands. The master of the treasury, Karuva, said, 'O sinless son of a Kshatriya, I am very glad to know that under the instruction of your grandfather you have given up your enmity. Although it is very difficult to avoid, I am very pleased with you. Actually, you have not killed the yakshas, nor have they killed your brother, for the ultimate cause of generation and annihilation is the eternal time feature of the Supreme Lord. Misidentification of oneself and others as I and you on the basis of the bodily concept of life is the product of ignorance. This bodily concept is the cause of repeated birth and death, and it makes us go on continuously in material existence. My dear Dhruva, come forward. May the Lord always grace you with good fortune. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is beyond our sensory perception, is the supersoul of all living entities, and thus all entities are one without distinction. Therefore begin rendering service under the transcendental form of the Lord, who is the ultimate shelter of all living entities. Engage yourself fully, therefore, in the devotional service of the Lord, for only He can deliver us from this entanglement of materialistic existence. Although the Lord is attached to his material potency, he is aloof from her activities. Everything in this material world is happening by the inconceivable potency of the Lord. My dear Dhruva Maharaja, son of Maharaja Uttanapada, we have heard that you are constantly engaged in transcendental loving service to the Lord, who is known for his lotus navel. You are therefore worthy to take all benedictions from us. Please therefore ask without hesitation whatever benediction you want from me." Maitreya continued his story. When thus asked to accept a benediction from Karuva, the king of the Yakshas, Dhruva, that most elevated pure devotee, who was an intelligent and thoughtful king, begged that he might have unflinching faith in and remembrance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for thus a person can cross over the ocean of nescience very easily, although it is very difficult for others to cross. The son of Vedavyasa, Lord Karuva, was very pleased, and happily he gave Dhruva Maharaja the benediction he wanted. Thereafter he disappeared from Dhruva's presence, and Dhruva returned to his capital city. As long as he remained at home, Dhruva performed many great ceremonial sacrifices in order to please the enjoyer of all sacrifices, Lord Vishnu. Prescribed ceremonial sacrifices are especially meant to please Lord Vishnu, who is the objective of all such sacrifices and awards the resultant benedictions. Dhruva rendered devotional service unto the Supreme, the reservoir of everything, with relenting force. While carrying out his devotional service to the Lord, he could see that everything is situated in him only, and that he is situated in all living entities. The Lord is called Achyuta. The Lord never fails in his prime duty to give protection to his devotees. Dhruva was endowed with all godly qualities. He was very respectful to the devotees of the Lord, and very kind to the poor and innocent, and he protected religious principles. With all these qualifications, he was considered to be the direct father of all the citizens. Dhruva ruled over this planet for 36,000 years. He diminished the reactions of pious activities by enjoyment, and by practicing austerities he diminished inauspicious reactions. The self-controlled great soul thus passed many, many years favorably executing three kinds of worldly activities, namely religiosity, economic development, and satisfaction of all material desires. Thereafter he handed over the charge of the royal throne to his son. Srila Dhruva Maharaja realized that this cosmic manifestation bewilders living entities like a dream, because it is a creation of the illusory, external energy of the Lord. Thus Dhruva at the end left his kingdom, which extended all over the earth and was bounded by the great oceans. He considered his body, his wives, his children, his friends, his army, his rich treasury, his very comfortable palaces, and his many enjoyable pleasure grounds to be creations of this illusory energy. Thus, in due course of time, he retired to the forest in the Himalayas, known as Badarikarashrama. In the forest, Dhruva's senses became completely purified, because he bathed regularly in the crystal clear, purified water. He fixed his sitting position, and by yogic practice controlled the breathing process and the air of life. In this way his senses were completely withdrawn. Then he concentrated his mind on the Artsa Vigraha form of the Lord, which is the exact replica of the Lord, and thus meditating upon him, entered into a complete trance. Because of his transcendental bliss, incessant tears flowed from his eyes, his heart melted, and there was shivering and standing of the hairs all over his body. Thus transformed in a trance of devotional service, Dhruva Maharaja completely forgot his bodily existence, and thus he immediately became liberated from material bondage. We will pause here at verse 18. So while reading about that, I was recalling something that my guru, Sri Acharya has talked about, and that is a world run not by politicians as we see them now, corrupt people, or people who are good folks but go into a system and become corrupt. But instead, he has written actually a book, and I'll link to it down below, on a form of government where people follow Dharma. And they're not trapped in this illusory material world where their stock portfolio is the most important thing they can do as a politician. They follow something greater than them, which in turn, and this is the key, causes them to win and others to win. You see, that's the thing these materialistic politicians don't get. If I am all about my 4 houses and others are suffering, but I don't really care, there will be a point, some of us believe, where I will keep going, but then I will fall. But if I am lifting others up, and I maybe don't have 4 houses, maybe I just have 1 house, like most people, and other people have 1 house. We don't have the mass homelessness we have now. We're all going to be lifted up together, and we're not going to fall, or we're not going to fall as far. It's a win-win situation versus the win-lose situation. I think, and Sri Acharya and many others see that that's how politicians lead by. They follow their material desires, but it doesn't really feel like it reflects a lot of us. This is an example here of a teacher who is leading, and it was talking about in these last paragraphs here, just before he went in the forest, how he was the direct father of all the citizens. Could you say that about any politician out there? Even figuratively? They try. They have pushed certain politicians like, oh, this is the mother of America. But it's like just PR. America is not going to this woman and going, you're the mother to the country. We just love you. It's not happening. It's all just PR stuff. But he really was, because he was leading based on the Lord. Because he learned his lessons in the battle with the illusory energy. Now, can we actually ever have a world where leaders are ruling by Dharma and understand principles like this? I don't think so. I think Sri Acharya is setting up a template that will never actually happen, but he's giving us hope, and he's maybe inspiring a few people to lead like that. And if we can just get a few people, that's better than nothing, because they can sort of pass it forward, or play it forward, however you say that, even little things that might just help a little bit, help balance it just a little bit. But I wonder if, the ideas he's promoting, well, I don't wonder, I know for a fact they come from this. Sri Acharya has read the Srimad Bhagavatam. He's also a follower of Sri Prabhupada of ISKCON, who has promoted the same idea, and some of his students today promote that idea that we should all live a more dharmic life, one focused on the Lord, not focused on material gains. Is it a little naive? Maybe. I would say it's more idealistic, but sometimes it's good to be idealistic. As I said, if 4 people or 5 people can come into government and have a dharmic view of government, maybe that can affect the other 5 people sitting across from them in a room, and something good can happen. It doesn't go into details here of what happened with Dhruva's kingdom, other than he was the father of all citizens, but we assume that great things happen, because, as I mentioned, that's not a title you're just going to be casually getting. And he ruled for 36,000 years. I mean, maybe there's more in the Srimad Bhagavatam about that. I don't know. Seems like that would be something worth talking about if he is such a great leader. We will find out. If nothing else, even if you are a politician or want to go in politics, or you do find this idea of running a country dharmically to being naive, you can't deny that, at least in the previous chapter where he was lost to illusion, there is something to that. And we should take mind of if we are lost to illusion and if we are lost to material gain. It's worth noting those things in our life. And when we are lost to those things, how many people are we hurting that we don't even realize we're hurting? As in the past chapter, Dhruva was killing yakshas who were innocent. They weren't guilty, but he was so lost to illusion. So even if you don't think as a ruler or a manager or a boss that you can work dharmically, at the same time, can you just not do things materialistically or selfishly or lost in illusion? That might be all that matters at the end of the day. I don't know. Anyways, I got into a political rant there. And you notice the camera, cut and pasted, because there was times that I just kind of went off in some divergence and realized this was going into territories that are speaking off the cuff and maybe with underdeveloped ideas that I just didn't really want to get into. But if you want to get into them or you want to talk more down below, feel free, where I can think about comments and responses to you, not when a camera's running. Anyways, we will pick up chapter 12 in the next video. Thank you for watching. All thoughts, comments, and anything you have to share is welcomed. Maybe I have misinterpreted things in this chapter, but like I said in other videos, it's just all very off the cuff. I'm just responding on how I feel it, and I thought of my guru while reading this, but who knows. Anyways, until next time, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare